That race is just crazy because you have 14 days of racing, and if you have one problem where you're stuck out there and they have to come get you, or your car can't make it to the finish, you're out.
Welcome everybody to another episode of BDS TV. I'm your host, Big Daddy Swolls, and today's guest is Mitch Guthrie. He's a professional race car driver, and he's sponsored by Red Bull. How you doing, Mitch? What's going on with you, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for coming, man. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, you kind of said it right there, race car driver. So
how long have you been doing it for?
Man, I started when I was 10. I'm 26 now, so about 16 years.
So how'd you get into it?
My dad. So yeah, like my dad was into off-road racing. He did like this, it's called rock crawling. So it's like these crazy cars that like go up these rocks that you would never think a car could go up. So I grew up going to that with my dad and just going to the desert, you know, being in Southern California, we have the desert right here. So started doing that, and then eventually like kind of spiraled out of control, and I started racing when I was young, and the rest is history. So kind of started from my dad though, like bringing me out to the desert and to the races.
Oh, that's cool. So is it pretty expensive to do? I hear that stuff can get pretty pricey.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like one of the things I always talk about is I'm just really thankful. Like my parents, when they got me started racing, it was these cars called trophy carts. And they're like these little trucks, basically. It's an off-road car. And we went to one race when I was younger, and I like was addicted. Once I saw them, I like wanted one so bad. And of course, I was like 8 or 9 years old at the time, begging my parents all the time, wanting one. And then finally for my birthday, they got me one. And after that, it's like the racing started, and it was just like going every weekend to the races. And
so you went to the races all the time too as well?
Oh, yeah.
So that's where you kind of developed your addiction towards the race car driving?
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, it was lots of racing, and like I wasn't even addicted to it before I started racing. It was just like looking at them on the computer, all that stuff, like watching videos back on YouTube and everything. It was like I was obsessed with them after I saw them. We went like we were spectators at a race, and that was the first time I saw them in person. And after that, I needed one.
Wow. See, so you mind me asking, how much does one of those race cars typically run?
I mean, at the time, those cars, they were little cars. They actually had like a lawnmower engine in them.
Oh,
so
really?
They were really slow.
Okay.
And it was like before that, there was really nothing that like kids could get into off-road racing with. And in like road racing, there's go-karts, like everyone knows. And that's how like every F1 driver starts. But off-road racing, you know, you have these big trucks called trophy trucks that are, you know, $1 million. But how do kids get into it when they're young? So someone came out with these trucks, and we started racing them. And yeah, I mean, I don't even remember at the time, probably $15,000. So it's definitely expensive and a lot of work to like maintain them. But that's, like I said, thankful for my parents. They got me into it and helped me out getting started.
Well, that's cool, man. So you win any races? Tell me about like your championships, your races, your hardest races, some of the things you've been involved with.
Yeah, I mean, the cars that I raced before, like the trophy carts, those were, you know, like kind of what taught me how to drive. Like it was just a bunch of little kids out there crashing their cars. And thankfully, my dad spent lots of hours in the garage getting me going. And then from there, I worked my way up to, a lot of people know them now. It's called a Polaris RZR, which you'll see out in the desert. Everyone's driving. There's Polaris and Can-Ams.
I think I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah. So started racing those, and eventually got picked up by Polaris. So like became kind of a factory driver for them.
Oh, wow, that's cool. So they kind of help pick up the tab as well, you think? Or
yeah. So that's kind of like every kid's dream is you kind of get started in racing and try and have some good results. And then like once you have some results, then the people start coming in and get interested and want to help you out.
Let's talk about the results. What kind of results were you getting? Like, how did you get that sponsorship?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of, well, actually a cool part of the story is my dad was into racing. So there's this one race, it's couple hours away actually in Johnson Valley, California, right over near Big Bear.
Okay.
And it's this crazy race in the rocks. Like you take these cars up crazy rocks you would never really think that they could go up. And my dad did it a bunch, and I actually co-rode with him. So he won it, did really well, and he's ended up winning it 6 times, 6 years.
Oh, wow.
So after that, I started getting more into it, and he was kind of sponsored by Polaris, the guys that sponsor me now. And after I started racing more, then thankfully, you know, the network of people were looking at me because they were sponsoring my dad.
Yep.
So
Net worth is your network is your net worth. Yeah, that's definitely true. So that's cool. So do you win any championships to kind of you know, kick your foot in the door and like, you know, make things happen? Like
yeah. There's a lot of big races that we do. So it's not as much championships for us. It's like the winning those big ones. Yeah. So. Definitely had some big races in there, and that's where like specifically like, you know, later in my career, well, I mean, I don't know, I was like 18 or something. There's a race called Vegas to Reno. So that one starts in Vegas area and it ends towards Reno, Nevada.
Whoa, the races are that long.
Yeah, so I got into more, the racing I did in the beginning was called short course racing. So it was like, you know, on a track, there's grandstands, everyone can see. The racing that I still do now, and I had started doing, is called desert racing. So those races, a lot of people have heard of the Baja 1000. So that's a 1,000-mile race down in Mexico. I've done that a couple times, but most of the races I do are here in the States. And that Vegas to Reno one, it's 500 miles. So it's crazy.
That's a long trip. So like, what about refueling? And is there pit stops along the way or?
Yeah. Like that race specifically, we have 13 pits along the way. So like we have chase trucks. So they'll like hop, they'll be at say pit 1, the next one's waiting at the next pit, and they do this kind of the whole time.
So they refill you as you're moving?
Yeah.
Or it's a pit stop?
It's a pit stop. So everyone pulls in we have a big tank on the car, so we can go pretty far, like a couple hundred miles, but eventually we have to pull in, and it's pretty cool. On the race cars, some people have seen it, but we have it's like a quick fill system. So, you know, the cans that we use are 11 gallons. They're big, but you can dump that in like 10 seconds. It's
especially with as fast as you're going. How fast do you normally get up in those races? Like what's the max speed you normally go?
It's crazy. The cars original, like the original Polaris, I mean, they would go probably 50 miles an hour, 60 maybe. And now the newer cars, because they kind of evolve every year and they come out with new ones. The newer cars at this last race I went 107.
Oh, wow.
So they're getting faster and faster, definitely. They're bigger engines, more suspension.
And you have to have all that because of the terrain, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah,
you get up to
crazy.
105 miles an hour on some terrain like desert, you're kind of sliding around a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like everyone that's been in that scene for a long time, like from where it started, you know, maybe 10 years ago to where it is now, the evolution's crazy. And like what we can do with the cars, the speeds they go, the suspension, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw on your Instagram, it actually looked kind of cool, like going over the desert plains and stuff. I thought that
you got to come out sometime. I'll give you a ride.
You know what? I might do that. As long as you got an extra helmet for me, you know?
Anytime.
Yeah, appreciate that. Have you ever been in any accidents along the, you know, you said 20 years or 20 years? Have you been in any accidents?
Yeah, definitely. I had a few good, I mean, even literally my very first race when I was like 9 or 10 years old, barrel rolled the car.
Really?
So luckily they're safe. So I've never really gotten too hurt. Definitely some concussions. And I mean, the craziest thing that's happened to me is I broke both of my thumbs in one of the wrecks. So that was the worst.
That's the worst.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, jeez, man. Do you consider that lucky compared to some other people that, you know, do get into those serious accidents? I mean, they can get pretty bad from what I've heard.
Yeah. I mean, luckily they're getting safer and safer. So like we wear a full fire suit. You have to have a helmet, a neck restraint that like hooks up to your neck.
Oh, really? There's a restraint that hooks right into your.
Wow. Yeah, it goes over the seatbelt, or your seatbelts go over it, and it has two attachments to your helmet, so your head can't move too far. You know, so if you have something like a really big hit, you can't like hurt your neck.
Oh wow.
So luckily the cars are really safe. Of course, stuff happens out there. People have, I mean, I broke my thumbs.
Yeah.
But
what's up, everybody? I'm Big Daddy Swolls. Hopefully you're enjoying your entertainment on BDS TV. If you are, please make sure to give me a like, comment, and subscribe so you guys can be the first to be notified about new content that's released. Also, be sure to check out my website, my music page, my social media platforms, and our merchandise store, all listed on the links below.
it could be worse. I've definitely a lot of accidents over the years, and definitely some of the ones like you would definitely think much worse when you see what happens, like how many times we roll, and then you're able to get out of the car fine. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I mean, I've seen some of those catch on fire. I think those same ones, right? Like,
yeah, it's happened to me.
Oh, yeah, because like they're on the gasoline is on the back of the car, correct? And they could like hit some kind of spark plug or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I've caught on fire a few times. Like most recently, there was one. I was actually in the international racing I do. I was in Abu Dhabi, and the engine blew up, and oil went all over the car and lit on fire, and it was a big one. But luckily, like I said, we have all the safety stuff. Everything's fire retardant. So
did they follow you along? Was that a long race as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you got those people following you, are they following you along while you're racing to make sure like they can extinguish those fires when something like that does happen?
No, we're on our own. So like,
wait, you're totally on your own. You got no drones following you, nothing, and your car catches on fire. You're on your own. Like there's no one out there that's going to be able to pretty much save you from that situation.
Yeah. I mean, they have like they have safety people out there, and luckily it's safe, and we have radios and all that stuff. But most of the time when you're out there in the middle of nowhere, like if something like that happens or you wreck, you're kind of on your own for a while.
Wow.
Maybe another racer will come and help you. That's kind of the cool thing with racing is if something's really going wrong, they're going to help you out.
Well, that's cool.
Someone will pull over for you, but overall, we have fire extinguishers on the car, which is part of the rules. So we have to carry a certain amount of fire retardant.
Right.
And then we have like most recently when I caught on fire, we have a button in there. So when we're getting out, there's a button we press that's a suppression system.
Right.
So when you press that, it'll extinguish all the flames in the car. It has different nozzles throughout the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay. So all right. So they are getting a lot safer.
Yeah.
So wait. So a car like that, how much does that normally cost? Because that sounds like a pretty expensive vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, the cars now when you buy like a brand new Polaris, say if you want to buy it, that's a $40,000 car.
Oh.
And then on top of that, we're doing the cars when we're done with them, making into a race car because we changed so much. Those things will turn into $120,000 cars.
Just a race.
Yeah, so it's definitely like as they evolve, they were slower and they were less expensive, but now they're getting faster and way more expensive. So,
jeez,
yeah.
Wow. So how'd you go across getting a sponsor from Red Bull?
Red Bull,
that's a big one. That's a big one. That's a cool one to have.
It was the dream for me. I mean, like when I was young, like a lot of people have seen Travis Pastrana, one of the dirt bike guys, like sponsored by Red Bull forever. And so Red Bull, they approached me. They were looking to get into, they sponsor, everyone, like skydivers, all this different type of stuff. But the racing that I do, it hadn't really, it's been getting bigger, but not a ton of people know about it. We call them UTVs, Polaris, Can-Am. And so they were looking to get more into that type of racing. So they kind of noticed me, luckily had some good results, and here we are. So it's pretty cool that they kind of saw what I was doing and approached me, and here we are now.
Well, that's just definitely a milestone to have, to say you were sponsored by a huge corporation like that.
Yeah, thank you.
That's something that's got to be pretty cool to walk around with, and like, just really have another badge on your shoulder. That's actually pretty cool, man. I know there's a lot of people that would like kill for a sponsor like that. So yeah, so all right, so say let's just say your car has engine problems or everything. So are you responsible solely to fix that car, or does the sponsor pick up the tab, or like how does that normally work? Do you?
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of two types of racing. So the racing I do out here is desert racing, and I have my own shop. So I have a couple guys that work for me, and I work in the shop, and we prepare the car and do everything ourselves. And then the international racing I do with a different team, they kind of do everything. They're based out of France, actually.
Okay.
So they fly the car over. They bring mechanics, they do it all. So I'm kind of more of a driver. The racing I do here, I'm kind of more of a business owner, preparing the cars. And then like, that's where, you know, after everything I've learned with the racing that I do here, kind of started my own business where now we're preparing cars for other people. So.
Oh, okay, cool. So you've turned it into a business. Your hobby became somewhat of a business, and now it's actually starting to work for you. So that's cool.
Yeah,
that's actually very cool. And you must enjoy working on cars.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
Must be something like. I mean, you have to. I know most race car drivers enjoy working on cars, from what I've heard. So so you're in the shop. I mean, so let's just say you you're in a race, right? And how do you go about, let's just say, winning it over longevity? What do you do to prepare yourself for a race that's that long? I mean, you're talking 500 miles sometimes.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like some things, the cars have a lot to them. So sometimes stuff is out of our control, you know, and like there's things that happen that you can't really prevent with parts failing or whatever. But I mean, when we're preparing, it all just goes into like the work we put in before. Like that's the biggest thing, is showing up with the car ready to go. All the people that chase us, the trucks, all that stuff ready to go. So everything just goes smooth. And then outside of that, it's just for myself, you know, I'm the one that's driving. So making a mistake is like the other thing that can take you out. So,
well, what about going to the bathroom or anything like that? Like, that's a long drive. Like, just like no water, nothing to drink, just all the way straight through.
That's the question people ask. We have a catheter, so it's not like the one you get in the hospital.
Okay, I was about to say not the hardcore one, not the old man one. Okay.
But no, it's like a tube. It's a tube that goes on the floor basically. So you just pee and it goes out. So we we actually have a lot. Like the cars are like they're evolving so much. Like now I'm even to the point we have a button in the car. I have a button on the steering wheel I can press and open my mouth and there's water. So,
no way.
Yeah. So
what doesn't it do? I mean, my gosh, it's like it's got a flush like a toilet, like it's like TV.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest questions that I hear from people is how do you go to the bathroom?
Yeah, I've always wondered. I figured it was something like that, but I wasn't sure. Maybe I wasn't catching the driver at the pit stop, getting out, going to the bathroom. I don't know, but I was always like a little curious on how that actually happened. So I thought that was actually pretty cool that you told me that. That was definitely interesting. So over 500 miles, you're sitting down straight all the way through, going into the back. Like, does that get exhausting? Does your ass start to hurt? I'm sorry to even ask that question. Legs cramp up? I mean, anything. Yeah. I mean, that's a rough terrain. I mean, I drove 500 miles before, and it's like, I gotta stop and take breaks and relax and stretch my knees. But this is like you're racing. You're going hardcore. Any problems that normally come up like pretty much all the time?
I mean, like there's the typical things when you're racing. It's like you're trying not to get a flat tire, and you got to be somewhat easy on the equipment, just to not break stuff. But overall, for me, it's like I've kind of gotten used to it now. Yeah. I do it so much that like 500 miles. Of course, when you're done, like you're tired, you want to get out of that thing and stand up and move around a little bit, but. I've done that, like, say that race so many times that I've kind of just gotten used to it now. And it's just a lot of fun, honestly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so like what, I'm sorry to get so intrusive with it, but what do you normally like win from those races? I mean, do you get more sponsorships coming in? Do you get like, can you explain like what are the benefits from actually racing?
Yeah. I mean, like with most of my sponsors, you get paid, like you have a contract with them. So, at least in the racing I do, you don't get paid per race or something like that. You have a contract and you get paid a certain amount of money for the year to kind of go do your thing. And that's
just for that, not the race, right? I know some like, because I did bodybuilding and I noticed that some supplement companies or sponsors will match the contract or be in the contract. They match the prize winnings for that specific event. So I don't know if they do that for you.
Yeah. So we'll have like the series itself that like puts on the race. They'll have a purse that they call it. So like if you get first place, you get a certain amount of money.
Right.
And then from there, most people like you have a deal with your sponsors. So it's called contingency. So like it's kind of a win-win. Like if you win the race, we're gonna pay you this amount. And they get the publicity from you winning the race. So it's kind of a win-win, but it's something that we get to go for, and it gives us some incentive to go try even harder to win.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like I always was wondering about that because I saw that you were sponsored. Excuse me, I saw you were sponsored by Red Bull, and I was just like, man, that's you must be pretty good. So they came looking for you, or did you go out and submit any kind of like flyers or invites or videos or anything? Did you do any of that, or did they just strictly just come looking for you?
They came to me, yeah. So
that's
it was
cool,
it was
man.
cool, yeah.
No, that's cool, bro. Like they literally came to you.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah,
that's a big deal, man.
And it's all, I mean, it's like you were saying, the network. So and it's the same as anywhere, like in racing. You meet people through the years, and you meet different sponsors, and people that maybe that can help you out later down the line. So like with Red Bull, there was one person in specific that kind of knew one of the people at Red Bull, and I think kind of put a good word in. But at the end of the day, they were looking for drivers for that type of racing, and then kind of, I guess I caught their eye for some reason, doing well, and here we are. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, Red Bull was like a dream of mine.
That's a big deal.
From when I was young. So yeah,
that's a big deal. And not to mention, you're traveling overseas, and they're picking up the tab, traveling, moving your vehicle all the way overseas. Mm-hmm. You must be like, pretty solidified in this racing thing. I mean, they're really, showing you a lot of love with that, because that's not cheap. None of those things are cheap. And I hate to sound like money, but like, I mean, it's really like tough to like do this.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I don't think too many people understand like how expensive racing can get, and these are, like coming with, you have to, you build these cars, right? Yourself, right?
Yeah, we work on them. Someone else builds them for us, but yeah, I mean, like you said,
but you justify. You add all the,
all the stuff,
sprays, everything you need to like make it safe and,
yep,
abide by the, the laws of racing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, like we talked about it a little bit, but the racing I do internationally, that's kind of like a whole separate thing from what I do here in the States. So. That's where it gets really expensive. I mean,
what's the difference over there? Like, what do you say, like, the major differences between here and there?
I race a little bit different car there, but like the biggest race of the year for us is always it's in January. It's called Dakar Rally. Mm-hmm. So that one that like this year that we did, that race is actually spread over 14 days. So it's 14 days of racing in a row.
14
compared
days.
To like the racing I do here, where it's one single day, all out.
Yeah.
So that's the craziest race of the year for sure.
So explain that race to me, please. I'm curious about that race.
Yeah. So it's right now it's in Saudi Arabia. Before it was in South America. It was in Africa, and originally it started in France, and it would go through like all those countries around there. So that race, I race a car similar to what I have here, but yeah, it's spread over 14 days. It goes like right now. It goes around the entire country of Saudi Arabia, basically. So every day, it's a lot to explain, but you start, say, over here. Every day you race, and you end up at the new like pit area where they prepare your car. So it's almost like a mini city that they build out there.
Okay.
And it moves every single day throughout the country. So you leave in the morning, this giant city where all your pit crew is, all the people that prepare the car every night. You race, and then you end up at the next spot, and they're sitting there ready for you.
So, quick question. Okay, so do they count your race by checkpoints? Who gets to the first checkpoint, and they give you a certain amount of points from like, okay, this guy got here first per checkpoint, or is it whoever finishes the race last, or is it by time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. As it goes by stages, so they call it a stage for every day. So you have 14 days of racing, 14 stages. So everyone's going for, first off, a stage win. So every day, if you have the fastest time, you win a stage. And then at the end, your total time tallied up. That's what's like the overall win. That's what everyone really wants.
Oh, wow.
So that race is just crazy because you have 14 days of racing. And if you have one problem where you're stuck out there and they have to come get you, or your car can't make it to the finish, you're out. Like, that's it.
Just one problem. You got the race completely.
Yeah, so
like,
you got to keep moving.
Could be a flat tire, could be anything, and they have to spend 4 or 5 hours just to come and get you.
Mitch Guthrie here on BDS TV. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. Click the link down below. Check out GuthrieRacingPrep.com. If you need any work done on your Polaris RZR Can-Am, come hit us up. And then on Instagram, Mitch Guthrie 5. Thanks for following. Yeah, we have like spare tires on the car, and we have
Okay.
like a little bit of tools and like certain things that like a little bit of parts, but overall, you're on your own. So like the cars have to be super reliable. You have to drive well, obviously, and not
Yeah.
break the car or do something stupid. But you also have to go fast because it's the total time allotted from all 14 together. So every day you get to the finish and say you're at stage 5. Like this year I was at stage 5. We had an issue, and I was leading the overall, and we had to wait for assistance truck that follows behind us, but it takes hours for them to get there because they start in the back and they have some parts.
Jeez, an hour is a long time. Even like
Yeah.
10 minutes is a long time, right? It can put
Yep.
you behind somebody, right? So especially if everyone especially if a car doesn't have any problems all the way through, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
So that's okay. So how long is one of those circuits? So how long? Like how many hours is in one of those 14 days?
Yeah, I'd say every day is roughly like 6 hours. But that doesn't count. Another huge part of that type of racing is half of it is the stages you do, and probably the other half of we call it, well, they're kilometers, they're not miles, but the kilometers we do are on the highway. So you have like transfer zones. So you're in the country of Saudi Arabia. You can't just drive off-road throughout the whole country.
Yeah.
So every day that we call it the bivouac, which is that city, that's what they call it. We leave the bivouac and we drive on the highway to get to the start of the stage. Then you start the stage at your time. You do the stage, and then usually get back on the highway again, drive for a couple hours to get to the bivouac that's at this new area.
Wow.
So half of it is waking up super early in the morning, getting in the car, driving through the cold for 2 hours, racing 6 hours, and then driving another 2 hours in the dark.
Wait, so you got to drive 2 hours before you even can start the race?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So yeah, you have a certain time that you have to leave the bivouac. So you wait for your time, you leave, and they give you an allotted time to finish the road section.
So this is 6 hours plus the 2 to 3 that you have
Yeah.
to drive. So you're driving a total of 9 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that before I went any further. I wanted to make sure wow, that's exhausting. But go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I mean, so yeah, we have an allotted time to finish the road section to get to the actual start of the stage. And they give us enough time. So like you can cruise, you can go to, there's gas stations along the way, get some food or do something. But you have to get to the start at your allotted time, start the stage, finish, and then you have an allotted time to get back to the bivouac.
Yeah, wow.
Because, sometimes people have a problem even on the road section, something can happen with the car. So they have to make sure you get there within a certain amount of time. Wow, so that's what makes it a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, okay, so you drive, let's just say I drive 4 or 5 hours in a day. My whole next day, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Are you covered, or is it just open air, like hitting you all the time? Do you have like windows you can roll up? Do you have anything else? Is it just open, just hitting you? Because I know the weather out there is not anything nice. Anytime you're in the desert, it's either really hot during the day and freezing at night, or you got sand kicking up, anything like that. Do you have any kind of like covers that make it a little bit easier on you?
No. So yeah, I'm a little unlucky. The car I'm driving right now has no windscreen. A lot of the cars do have windscreens, and that makes it nice because on those sections you could take your helmet off, set it next to you, put your headphones in, chill out, and you're not in the rain.
Not Mitch.
But not Mitch.
Not Mitch.
No.
Mitch don't get any love.
Yeah,
Mitch
so we
gets zero
bring
love.
huge jackets, all this stuff, because, you'll wake up in the morning, sometimes it's freezing, and you'll look out ahead, or it might even already be raining, and like the area we're driving to is pouring rain.
And
So
you're just in it.
yeah, it sucks.
Soaked.
Sucks. And then you're soaked the whole day. So
Yeah. Then I don't know if you get rashes or anything, but depending on what you're wearing, that's awful. It starts smelling and stuff, right? I mean, so then it goes back to the heat. Do you get it? Is there washers or dryers out there? You get to put on new clothes. Do you change clothes like at those pit stops? So they got you taken care of as far as hygiene goes.
yeah, I mean, we have like it's not like a camper you'd see usually like in the States, like those big 40-foot motorhomes, but we have a little camper. We're lucky. Like our crew, they sleep in tents.
Really?
So yeah, we get back and luckily we have like the suits we wear, all of our gear, we have like 3 or 4 sets of it.
Okay.
But the big thing is we have a rest day, it's called. So 14 days of racing. After 7 days, you have a rest day in the middle.
Okay.
So that's for everyone the mechanics, especially to like get the car, you know, because every night they have a few hours and then we're going back again. So they work through the night. So it gives them a chance to like really get the car ready. It's a media day for us. We do a lot of media stuff, and then this year we got to sleep in a hotel. So that was awesome.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, wash all your clothes, take the clothes to the hotel, do all that stuff. So yeah, it's the stuff people don't think about, but it's a lot.
Well, I mean, I'm just going through the stories and just thinking about, because, you know, I was in the Marines, and like, you know, they're really harsh on us in certain situations. But like, I mean, I valued water, I valued food, I valued, you know, breaks, you know, I'm pretty concerned about you. Like, when you tell me all these things, I'm like, I kind of like, so it's okay. So they kind of still balance it, but I'm sure it's still a struggle. It can't be easy.
Yeah, it's tough.
It can't be easy. Like, there's no way that's easy. Because if it was easy, a lot of people would do it. But I mean, you're thinking about the financial aspect of it. You're thinking about the traveling. You're thinking about the work. I mean, the mechanics of it. I mean, everything, you know, and then the risk being involved. You know, I mean, you got to love this to do it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
you have to. I mean, it's not just something anybody can just pick up and just start doing, you know? So, I mean, I'm thinking, man, this sounds like a really tough professional sport you're in.
Yeah, it's tough, but I'm lucky. Like, you know, Dakar, like that Dakar rally that I do, it's becoming bigger in the States. People follow it because like some Americans are doing it now, but before it's one of the biggest races in the world. It's just not an American thing. So a lot of people follow it.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah, it's kind of like soccer.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, it's cool. And like me coming from racing, I've always known about it. So it's been kind of a dream. And that's like when Red Bull came along.
Yeah.
And, you know, they wanted to get more younger, not only Americans, but just younger kids racing it. Because a lot of the top guys, they're getting older. So they need someone to kind of take over eventually. So it's cool, like getting the opportunity to do it. And like, I mean, sometimes it definitely sucks. Sometimes it's awesome, but like the stories we get are just crazy out there.
What's some of the craziest stories that you can tell me? What's some of the craziest things that happened? This is what I want to know.
Man, I would say probably the first year I did it. So it was, I think 3 years ago. We had an issue out there and the car was broken. So
what was the issue? What happened?
Fuel pump stopped working.
Oh, wow.
So couldn't start the car.
That's a big problem.
Yeah.
Where's the fuel pump located? Is it underneath, or is it?
It's on like the back of the car. It's like an external one. Yeah. So it's easy to get to, but there was nothing we could do. It was broken. So
you didn't have any extra spares?
No,
nothing.
Unfortunately not. So stuck out there. We have an assistance truck. So like there's these big trucks that follow. They start in the back though, and they take maybe a few hours to get to you, but they have parts and stuff. Well, they didn't have a fuel pump, so it was like, hey, we're gonna tow you. They have this big rope that's about this size. It looks like it could tow like a cruise ship or something.
Right.
And they were gonna tow us through the dunes to get to the finish of the stage so we could keep going. Because if a competitor helps you, then you can stay in the race. So they're a competitor. So they were towing us. They went up a dune. They were on the other side, and the rope had some slack in it, so it ripped a part of the car off with it.
Wait a minute. So you're going up a hill? Can you explain that to me, like, you know, just for the viewers?
I mean, like there's this big truck's towing us. It's got a huge rope, and we're a small car. That thing has probably, I don't know, 1,500 horsepower or something. It's huge.
So is the engine torqued it?
Yeah. So they went up over the dune. I was on the other side, and I was on the brakes, but when the rope gets slack like that, you know, it bunches up. Eventually, they're going to start driving. It's going to go boom.
Oh,
so
no.
It did that, ripped just a part of the chassis, like just a huge part of the car off, went flying. And at that point, it was dark out. It's probably like midnight, and we couldn't continue at that point because the car was kind of ripped apart. So I mean, that's my craziest story. Like we stopped there, kind of talked to the guys that were towing us, and it's like, well, I guess we're just going to sleep here. So we were lucky enough. Those guys had 2 tents, I think, and like 3 sleeping bags. So they gave me and my co-driver their tents. They slept in the dunes, just out in the nice fresh air where it's freezing, in their sleeping bags. And I got their tent. But you know, there's no blankets. There's no one coming to save you. Like, it's just, you're out there.
You gotta deal with it.
Freezing cold. And then, you know, from there, it's like, our team finally came and found us in the morning, and then it's like, okay, now we have to drive, I don't know, it was like 10 hours to get back to where everyone actually was, because we didn't make it to the finish that night, so then everyone moves to the next place. So
oh my gosh, so you had to go
even
problem
further.
after problem, right? Is that 3? Is that this? You done? Are you done? I'm okay. So tell me so tell me, finish.
So that was pretty much it. I mean, from there it's like they get you out, but then how do you get to civilization? You got to drive 10 hours. So we've kind of seen it all out there. It's fun. You have lots of issues, but when it's going well, it's amazing.
You're on top of the world.
It's the coolest thing ever. Yeah.
Well, that's nuts, man. My hat is off to you, brother. Like
Thank
it
you.
really is. That's awesome, man. And I should have my first professional race car driver on here, bro. So I think that's pretty cool, man. And I can't say what a pleasure it's been to talk to you, man. It's been an amazing, man. And if like I said, man, I'd love to have you back on. Maybe we could talk more about your races or
absolutely
more championships or even many more crazy stories. It's been awesome.
Thank
Mitch.
you.
It's been awesome, Mitch. Thank you so much. And shoot, man, we'll talk again soon, man. And good luck on your journey, man. And congratulations on your huge sponsor, man.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Right, BDS TV. We out.
The Big Tank